Good evening. Welcome to the Derry Town Council meeting for Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. Please stand for the pledge. Council Katsoukaras, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do a roll call. Council Chericello.
Good evening.
Council Spencer.
Good evening.
Council Katsoukaras.
Good evening.
Council Flood.
Hello.
Council Granessi.
Good evening.
And Councilor McGuckern is not here this evening. And good evening from the chair, and the town administrator and the Madam Clerk. Do we have a motion to open public forum?
So moved.
Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion to open public forum, seconded by Councilor Spencer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public forum is now open. The floor is yours. Name and address for the record.
Steve Trefethan, business owner and property owner in Derry on 44 West Broadway, real estate. I just have one thing. I think, so my property that I have most all the residential and commercial property that's along Folsom Road, which is going to be the exit 4A. And of course, we keep ours up, we keep it mowed, looks nice all the time, it's mulched. But I noticed the state, since they have taken over the other properties and, flattened all the buildings, raised all the buildings, they're not taking care of that property. The grass is probably 1.5 feet high, so I didn't know if they're obligated to, or if that's something a town may have to request them to at least mow it every now and then. It looks kind of all the way down to the Salvation Army and the car wash. It looks terrible from there all the way back. So,
Okay, we'll let 'em know. We'll pass
so
it
if
on.
we could notify them if that's what we do, or if we could do it ourselves and keep it mowed so it looks decent. You know, you got Chipotle's coming in, you got Starbucks. You're trying to get all these people on Crystal Ave, and when you drive that way, it doesn't look too good. So, just a recommendation. Thank you.
Anybody else in public wish to speak? Owen, anyone online?
Seeing none, rise online, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion to close by Council Chericello, second by Council Spencer. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and good evening, Council McGuckern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for
No worries.
my late.
No worries. Moving on to consent agenda. We have item 2379, approved minutes from June 20th, 2023. We have 23-80, resolution 2023-051 to approve a supplemental appropriation for Police Department K-9. 2381, resolution 2023-052 to adjust various fees and fines. Both of those will be having a public hearing August 15th on 2380 and 2381. Do we have a
Motion to move the consent agenda as read by the chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the agenda. Councilor McGuckern, second by Councilor Spencer. Councilor Chericello. Yes. Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaras.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McGuckern.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 7-0. Chairman's report. We will start off, I'm going to hand the floor over to Councilor Flood for a very important proclamation. Councilor Flood, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is for any family, bereaved parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin, and just close friends that have lost someone to suicide. And just know that even though you're on the loneliest journey that you could possibly be on, that you are not alone. There are others out here like us, like you, that are here to support you, and this is just a very small token to let you know and let others know that we are here. Survivors of Suicide Proclamation. Whereas suicide accounts for 1 of every 100 deaths globally, suicide is the 9th leading cause of death in New Hampshire, and for ages 10 to 34, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death. And whereas approximately 285,000 people become suicide survivors, this loss leaves families and friends grieving, struggling to understand and to cope. And whereas because of the complicated emotions and stigma about suicide, suicide survivors often do not reach out for support or get the needed help to cope with their tragic loss. And whereas studies found that family and friends often do not talk about their tragedy with others, and lack of sharing contributes to loneliness, detachment, depression, and whereas feelings of belongingness, talking about loss, and social support play critical roles to help recovery and growth after the loss of a loved one, and whereas only those who have experienced this terrible tragedy can truly understand no one needs to suffer alone, and whereas we encourage all citizens to take time to understand mental health through education and recognize that we need to care of our mental health while we take care of each other. Now, therefore, we, the Derry Town Council, do proclaim July 22nd, 2023 as Survivors of Suicide Day, a day to find strength within ourselves alongside fellow suicide loss survivors. We are committed to help survivors cope with the tragedy of losing loved ones and gain a new understanding about suicide, mental health, and grief. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What? Thank you. All right.
Chair, a moment of silence, please.
Yes, please, thank you. You beat me to it. Okay, please rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. That was a tough start, but that was a very important message. And I want to thank Councilor Flood for doing that proclamation. Very important, sensitive subject, but got to talk about the difficult things. It takes a village, so thank you for all you guys do. Thank you. Moving on, we have an appointment to the Heritage Commission. I move to appoint Lynn Mari as an alternate member of the Heritage Commission for a term to expire March 31st, 2020. We'll do 2024.
Second.
We have a second? Okay. On the motion, Council Chiarcello.
Yes.
Council,
It's either 25 or 26. Those are the two vacant.
oh, that's 24 in mine. Okay, so we'll do, I'm gonna amend that, make it 26, 2026.
Yeah.
You still second that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion second by Council Katsoukaris for 2026. Council Chiarcello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Granessi.
Yes.
Council McEachern.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Motion carries 7-0. We have appointments to the Electric Aggregation Committee. I move to appoint Joe Vogelslang as a member of the Electric Aggregation Committee for a term to expire upon completion of the final report. I'm going to do these individually.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Granessi. On the motion, Councilor Chiarcello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachern.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion carries. Joe. I move to appoint James Marshall as a member of the Electric Aggregation Committee for a term to expire upon completion of the final report.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Spencer. So, on the motion, Councilor Chiarcello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachern.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Motion carries. And then the next order of business, collectively, I would like to table the TIF Advisory Board appointments. If somebody would like to move that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table till next meeting in August. Seconded by Councilor McEachern. On the motion, Councilor Chiarcello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachern.
Yep.
The chair votes yes. Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you. When you think about mutual aid to other communities, people automatically think of public safety services.
Actually, some folks in New Hampshire are really forward-thinking about mutual aid for public works, and I think they activated it for the first time ever this week. We've got 2 of our staff members and 2 10-wheel dump trucks up in the town of Washington. It's just south of Sunapee. It's a community of about 1,200 people, and they experience a lot of damage in their community from the flooding. So they put out you might have seen it on MUR actually tonight. Wilton, Bedford, and Derry sent vehicles over. Like mutual aid, it will be at our cost unless we think there's going to be a federal declaration from FEMA for Sullivan County, at which point we'll get reimbursed. They'll be there. They were there today. They'll be there tomorrow and Thursday as well. Hopefully get those people back on their feet. This is the first meeting of the new fiscal year. Our fiscal year ended on June 30th, and our revenues did quite well. The only revenue which really underperformed was mattress disposal. As you recall, that was a new program we initiated last year based upon the requirements of where we dispose of our trash in Haverhill. However, that's a fee for service. There was no impact on the tax rate. Motor vehicles ended up exceeding expectations by 6.5%, which is good. And motor vehicle titles, which is really a good measurement of car sales and transactions, and that came in at 99.4% of budget. You remember through the year, that really has been uneven, so we're really pleased with that performance. Ambulance revenues exceeded estimates by about 24%. Building permits were up 31%, which doesn't surprise. A lot of development activity in town, which is really good. And as we've been discussing through various meetings, we expect our interest earnings to exceed the budget by about $1 million this year. If you recall, when we built the FY23 budget, it was during a period of low interest rates and low inflation. That changed. The Fed raised the rate, and so our interest rates went up as well. So we'll exceed about $1 million. And also, as you know, we bonded for the construction of Central Fire. We'll be starting construction hopefully in August, as soon as we receive the AOT permit from the state. So those dollars are sitting there, and the Fire Capital Reserve Fund is increased by about $690,000 this year based upon the receipt of those bond proceeds. On public transportation, the town contracts with Manchester Transit Authority to manage the public transportation program. It's a call for service, and they recently announced that they will be lengthening their hours for rides in town to 9 p.m. during the week and 6 p.m. on Saturday. The fee is for $2, and if you go on the town's website, under the Discover Dairy tab, there's an option for transportation options, and it lists all the different requirements and services for our public transportation. On the 4A status, NHDOT recently bid out the second demolition phase for the project to address a handful of properties on the north side of Folsom. So once those are demolished, all the major takings will be completed, and all that remains is strip acquisitions, like 10 or 15 or 5 feet, different individual properties. And finally, on mosquito control, as you know, the town invests a significant amount of money to protect the community against Triple-E, West Nile, Jamestown Canyon virus. Thus far, we're early in the process. We typically have to make a decision the end of August, beginning of September, whether to spray or not. But right now, we have no indications that we'll have to spray this year. But again, 30 days from now, we'll have a better idea. And that's what we have this evening.
Great, thank you. Questions, comments for the town administrator? Nope. All right, moving on to new business. Agenda item 2371, ordinance 2023-003, amend Article 5 of the zoning ordinance to revert certain lots back to the central business district. Planning Director George Sioris. Good evening, George.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The purpose of this hearing is to, as you indicated, to amend the dairy zoning ordinance. And what we're primarily doing, and you should have a map attached to your staff report, hopefully. It has the different colors, but we're taking 23 parcels that are located downtown and currently in the central business district. And what we're trying to do is we looked at some of the setbacks in what they call the traditional business overlay. It allows for smaller setbacks from side properties, from the street level. And what we found is when you start to apply some of the regs that you see, like the setbacks along Broadway, which is your traditional downtown, to try to apply that in the real world on the side streets on North and South of Broadway, in a practical sense, it just did not work. So we had a site walk with the planning board back in February. Dave was there, Dave Granesi, Jim McEachran was there, John O'Connor was there, chairman of the planning board. And what really triggered part of the discussion was behind us on the corner of Franklin and Pearl Street, there's a house fire a couple of years ago. So they've been trying to redevelop that property, get rid of an eyesore. So when they tried to apply the downtown central business district regs, it made it a challenge to do redevelopment on the side streets. So we went back to the old regs, what they used to be, to take those properties that are colored in the blue and put them back into the central business district, which allows for more flexibility on landscaping, lighting, setbacks. So hopefully, I think you'll see that building disappear, and they can move forward on a project on the corner, and it will help the side street redevelopment. Separately, the planning board's going to spend the next few months on the south side of Broadway. It's a little bit more of a challenge on that side. You have Abbott Court and with some of the redevelopment on Wall Street, Railroad Ave, Central Street. That's going to take more work. But just for the people at home, the lots that are going to be impacted, which are the blue lots, which would be McAllister Court, Franklin Street, Manning Street, Martin Street, Pillsbury Street, and Maple Street down to the Opera House. So staff would recommend approval. It will just make it a little easier down the road to have redevelopment on the side streets. And again, John O'Connor is here, and Jim and Dave were at the site walk back in February.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments before we open public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Motion by Councilor McEachran, second by Councilor Spencer, to open public hearing. On the motion, Councilor Chercello?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katz-Corris?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Granesi?
Yes.
Councilor McEachran?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Public hearing is now open.
Hi, Jim Dietzel, 1100 Drive. I'm on the zoning board of adjustment for, as an alternate. Is your map available online or for the public?
Yes.
I would like to see, because this is, has some small impact on the zoning board, and so I can find that online.
Yeah, if you, for the record, if you just go on the Derry webpage and you're just going to click on the town webpage, go under Planning Board, and when you click on Planning Board, you're going to see the map there.
Okay, thank you very much, board. Council.
Steve Trefethan, again, realtor on Broadway and a property owner. So just really a question for George. So George, those properties were put into the traditional business zone? Is that what happened? And now we're going to go back to CBD?
Yeah, a couple of years, for the record, for some of the new members, I think 2 or 3 years ago, the traditional business zone was along Broadway, and to try to have encouragement of the side streets, Martin Street, Wall Street, Railroad Ave, and then Pillsbury. We took them out of the central business, put it back in the TBOD, and we found when we tried to apply the rules, it just doesn't work on the side streets. So the decision was to take it, put it back to what it was before. It allows more flexible setbacks, parking, landscaping, lighting, that kind of thing. Because we do know properties that want to be redeveloped in that zone, and when they try to apply it, and we had full-blown engineering plans, it just doesn't work. So the blue ones, on the north side of Broadway, those are the ones we took out of the TBOD and put it back in the central business district.
Okay, so then just my next question would be, you've taken them out of TBD, which now allows, I guess, 40 apartments per acre. What does that mean now? I know I'm going to go way back. It used to be 4 apartments per lot. Is anything changed on the CBD?
No,
Are we reducing the amount of apartments going in now? Will that change that?
No, the TBO, what Steve's referring to, the density's not changing that. We're not changing the density or anything, Steve.
Okay.
It's just to change the setbacks. So when you have the house at the fire on the corner here, if you applied what the current regs was, you would be right at the sidewalk, because we had a real site plan that showed it. We don't want that for a whole bunch of reasons, so we moved the setbacks to go back to the central business to allow properties that are like that. You gotta remember that neighborhood's 100 years old.
Yeah, no. I get
And those streets are narrow, so when you have parking and the fire truck was trying to get through there with the snowbanks, it just didn't work with the setbacks. So that's pretty much why
I'm just confused, because we put it into TBD, and now we're putting it back to central business? Or
Yeah.
no, we're not. We're just using the setbacks, and it stays
No,
in
no,
TBD?
you're
and
correct.
so-
We're taking 23 parcels out of the central. The town council had asked us a few years ago to encourage redevelopment on the side streets.
Yeah.
So we applied the rules in the TBOD, and they just didn't work.
Right.
So based on that experience doing a site walk, we took 23 parcels and took them out of the TBOD, which you see along Broadway, and put them back in the central business. It's two different zones.
So if you put them back in the central business, now do the apartment quantities apply to that, being it's gonna be a new zone?
It's
gonna,
It's in the traditional, it's in the central business district, so we're not changing the density. The TBOT downtown is, the density for housing is a lot different. So the central business district is, we didn't touch the density on
well,
that.
let me ask it this way then. So let me ask it this, 'cause
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't want to, so how many apartments allowed per acre in the CB, in that zone where you're gonna change the setbacks?
That was always 12 units per acre. The
Okay, so it
downtown,
won't be the same as TBD, now, it'll now be 12 versus 40.
yeah, the 40 was in
Okay.
the zone that we have here.
All right, that was my question, I just wanted to clarify that, I was a little bit confused, I didn't know if you were doing just
all
setback,
right.
but you're actually putting it into the CBD, back into the CBD
That's
zone.
correct.
Okay, thank you, that was it, thanks, George.
Yeah, no problem.
Owen, anyone online?
Seeing none rise, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close public hearing, seconded by Counsel Katsoukaris. On the motion, Counsel Churchill.
Yes.
Counsel Spencer.
Yes.
Counsel Katsoukaris. Counsel Flood.
Yes.
Counsel Granessi.
Yes.
Counsel McEachern.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Public hearing is now closed. Counselor, comments, questions?
No, this is something that's been done over the years, and we always take examinations from my time on the planning board. You know, we take suggestions from citizens, we take suggestions from business owners. You know, we try some things out, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and clearly in this case, to mitigate some issues with the zoning board so they don't have to deal with things, and, you know, to make it make sense, this was looked at, as George stated, both Dave and myself. Brian's well aware of this area. I'm very familiar with it, and I think this is the right thing to do.
Agreed.
Okay.
So if there are no other questions, Mr. Chairman, I'd
Take
like
it
to
away.
read the ordinance. Ordinance number 2023-03, amend Article 5 zoning map and district boundaries, Section 16530, zoning map to redistrict 23 properties to central business district. Whereas Section 5.1 of the Town Charter designates the Town Council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and pursuant to Section 6.1 of the the council shall legislate by ordinance, and whereas the planning board has been reviewing allowable uses, densities, boundaries in the downtown, and whereas the orderly redevelopment of the area requires that certain properties be rezoned back into the central business district, excuse me, and whereas the planning board has held the requisite public hearing, voted to recommend this amendment to the council, now therefore the town of Derry ordains that the Derry zoning ordinance is hereby amended as follows. To amend Article 5 zoning map district boundaries, Section 16530, zoning map to redefine the boundaries of the TBOD, Traditional Business Overlay District, by reverting 23 properties back to the central business district. Properties, we should say, have been identified by the planning board. This ordinance shall take effect 30 days after its adoption, effective July 11th, 2023.
Second.
Excuse me.
A motion by Counsel McEachern, second by Counsel Spencer. On the motion, Counsel Churchill.
Yes.
Counsel Spencer.
Yes.
Counsel Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counsel Flood.
Yes.
Counsel Granessi.
Yes.
Counsel McEachern.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Moving on to 2372, Resolution 2023-045, to accept and expend unanticipated highway and bridge revenues from the state of New Hampshire. Town Administrator Dave Karen presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each year, the state of New Hampshire is required to share 12% of its gas tax revenues with municipalities to help us on local roads. Typically, Derry receives about $581,000, which is an offset to our $1.5 million road maintenance budget. During the most recent state budget cycle, the legislature had an excess of funds, and they voted, and the governor agreed to support an additional $10 million for roads and $10 million for bridges. Those two amounts equate to about $190,000 in the block grant for the roads to the town, in addition to the 581, and an additional $153,000 for bridges. So where these are unanticipated revenues, We are required in the state statute for the council to have a public hearing before you consider adopting these revenues. The additional Bridge A will go into the Bridge Fund, as you know. The council bonded $1.6 million last year, and the state legislature had a similar process last year, much larger numbers, and we received actually $549,000 in additional funds in the Bridge Fund and $573 in highways. So we've got about $2.3 million to begin working on our culverts. A couple are designed. We expect construction to start next spring.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Counselor McGuckin to open public hearing, second by Counselor Katsoukaris. All in favor of the motion, say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Public hearing is now open. If you wish to speak in this,
Mr. Chairman, seeing no one jumping to the forefront. and
Seeing none, rise online, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
all right, motion by Counselor McGuckin to close public hearing, seconded by Counselor Katsoukaris. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Public hearing is now closed. Anyone, council, questions?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Always nice to get extra money from the state of New Hampshire, so we should gladly take it.
Right.
Having said that, if there are no other questions from my fellow councils, I will read the resolution.
Yep.
Seeing none, resolution number 2023-045, to accept and expend unanticipated highway and bridge revenue from the state of New Hampshire. Whereas Section 9.15 of the Town Charter authorizes the Town Council to accept grant funding, and whereas the state legislature, including additional one-time funding in fiscal year 24-25 biennium budget for highway and bridge aid, and whereas the town plans to use these funds to accelerate its road reconstruction and bridge rehabilitation schedules, and now therefore be it resolved in council pursuant to RSA 3195B that the town administrator is hereby authorized to accept $190,424 in highway aid to be added to the Highway Division budget. Further, to authorize acceptance of $152,720 in bridge aid to be placed in the Bridge Fund to supplement the culvert replacement program approved in the FY23 budget, and should funds be available to begin the process to address cemetery road culverts. The resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage, adopted July 11th, 2023.
Second.
Is that still right, Dave, the 2023 budget, not 2024?
Yeah, the replacement program was approved,
Okay, so it won't carry into 24, then we'll use it now for the last half of the year? Okay. Just wanted to check, thank you.
All right. All right, so we had a motion by Counselor McGuckin, second by Counselor Katsoukaris. On the motion, Counselor Cherichello.
Yes.
Counselor Spencer.
Yes.
Counselor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counselor Flood.
Yes.
Counselor Canesi.
Yes.
Counselor McGuckin.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, 7-0. Moving on to 23-73, Resolution 2023-046, to approve a supplemental appropriation to purchase capital equipment and to authorize the execution and delivery of a master lease purchase agreement therefore. CFO Mark Fleischer.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Mark.
You guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, this is an authorization to enter into a master lease agreement and also a supplemental appropriation. So during the FY24 budget review in May of 2023, it was determined that entering into a competitively bid master lease agreement for capital equipment and vehicle purchases over the next 3 to 7 years would be cost-effective for the town. After soliciting bids for municipal lease services, TD Bank was chosen for their guaranteed fixed interest rate and no fees passed on to the community. The interest rate as of June 8th, 2023 was 4.07 for a 5-year term, 3.97 for a 7-year term. Interest rates on borrowing continue to change daily, and we have locked into these rates until August 15th, 2023. The FY24 lease amount approved in the budget was $1,098,905, but Resolution 2023-031 added $110,000 to that to replace a forestry tanker in fire.
All right.
Hold on, I'm not quite done. The total cost of the vehicles and equipment is $1.1 for $1,602,289. Continuing the trend experienced in recent years, pricing in the marketplace is greater than what was estimated when the FY24 budget was established. There are two pieces of equipment totaling $355,680 needed for the transfer station, which are in the FY24 CIP, but did not make it into the budget due to a technical issue. The remaining increase over budget is $37,704, which is due to price increases. Due to these pricing changes, we are seeking a supplemental appropriation of $372,432 for the general fund, $18,858 for the water fund, and $2,094 for the wastewater fund, for a total of $393,384. Lease revenues will increase by the same amount as the supplemental appropriation in the corresponding funds. The adjusted amount to be financed by TD Bank, again, will be $1,602,289. We are also seeking approval to enter into a master lease agreement with TD Bank for these FY24 purchases, and lease payments will commence in FY 2025.
Thank you. Open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion to public hearing, Council Becker, second by Council Katsoukaris. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Public hearing is now open. If you wish to speak in this matter, please come up and do so. Anyone online on?
Seeing none, rise online, Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Chairman, seeing no one online and no one jumping to the forefront, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Council Becker to close public hearing, second by Council Katsoukaris. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Public hearing is now closed on this. Councilors, questions?
Yeah.
Council Becker.
So we're taking the money for the payments out of the capital reserve fund. How's this impact the capital reserve funds then? We're going down by more than we had anticipated,
Right, but they
right,
were
by
part
about
of,
400,000.
so this was part of the CIP.
So
which
it's all worked into the overall budget.
worked
It's
in, it
just,
just didn't make it into the budget, that's all.
it's in the CIP, didn't make it in the budget, so what's the impact on the budget then?
There is no impact because the
It's in the
revenues.
CIP.
Right, and the revenue is gonna offset the expense. And then down the line, of course, we'll start making payments next fiscal year,
So,
2025.
and the payments are worked into the FY '24 budget or '25?
They'll be in the 25. There is no payment on FY '24.
There is no payment? So when we get the FY '25 budget, it would be increased by this amount, or the payment amount would be increased from 1.2 to 1, well, not 1.2 to 1.6, the payment's not that much, but,
Just for clarification, the only unanticipated funds which we're requesting is $37,000. That's the price increase. The larger one for the transfer station, we had included that in the CIP.
yeah,
It was in the program which the planning board reviewed and approved, in the program which the council reviewed and approved. It made it to the CIP.
Right.
Because of a technical glitch, it didn't make it into the budget. So as far as long-term forecasting,
It's already
we had
there.
already planned on spending those funds.
and we planned for the first payments in '25, so it didn't impact the '24 budget, and it's already anticipated for '25, so we're all covered.
Right.
Yes.
So there's no negative impact on anything. Good. My only question. Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, seeing no activity from my fellow councilors, I'm going to make a resolution number 23046 to approve the supplemental appropriation to purchase capital equipment and to authorize execution and delivery of the master lease purchase agreement. Therefore, whereas the town charter establishes the town council as the appropriating authority to the town, and that such empowerment is covered in section 9.6 of the charter to make supplemental appropriations, and where, after the annual budget is adopted, whereas the council approved the purchase of capital equipment as part of the FY24 budget adoption, and whereas current economic conditions require a supplemental appropriation to complete the purchase, and whereas the town customarily finances these acquisitions through a lease purchase program, and whereas these excess costs will be absorbed through multi-year lease purchase agreements from the town's capital reserve fund, and whereas the town of Derry, a body politic and corporate duly organized and existing as the political subdivision of the state leasee, is authorized by the laws of the state of New Hampshire to purchase, acquire, and lease personal property for the benefit of the leasee and to enter into contracts with respect thereto, and whereas leasee desires to purchase, acquire, finance, and lease certain equipment, with the cost not to exceed $1,602,289, constituting personal property necessary for leasee to perform essential government functions, paren the equipment, close paren, and whereas the leasee proposes to enter into certain master lease purchase agreements, paren the agreement, close paren, with TD Equipment Finance Incorporated, known as the leaseor, the form of which has been available for review by the governing body of the leasee prior to this meeting, and whereas the funds made available by the leaseor under the agreement will be deposited into an account designated in writing by the leasee for the purpose of administrating the funding amount pursuant to the lease, paren, the funding account, close paren, or pay the leasing an amount equal to the funding amount. Oh, my God. Oh, keep going here. All right.
Multiple pages.
You guys surprised me in this one. Whereas the equipment is essential for the leasee to perform its governmental functions, and whereas the leasee has taken necessary steps, including those relating to any applicable legal binding requirements to arrange for the acquisition of the equipment, and whereas the governing body of leasee deems that it is to the benefit of the leasee and for the efficient, effective administration thereof to enter into the financing documents and any other document necessary, convenient, or appropriate for the purposes of financing the equipment on the terms and conditions described herein. Now, therefore, it be resolved in council that the sum of $393,384 is hereby raised to complete the purchase of the capital equipment to be allocated in the following funds. General Fund, $373,432. Water Fund, $18,858. Wastewater Fund, $2,094. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of leasee that the leasee is hereby authorized to execute and deliver the amount with principal components of rental payments in the aggregate amount not to exceed $1,602,289. Be it further resolved that the finance documents and the acquisition and financing of the equipment under the terms and conditions as described in the financing documents are hereby approved. The town administrator of the leasee and any other officer of the leasee with the power to execute contracts on behalf of the leasee, be and each of them hereby is authorized to execute, acknowledge, deliver the finance documents and any and all instrument documents and certificates by which may be required by or provided for in the financing documents, or as many, or may otherwise be required for, or necessary, convenient, or appropriate, the financing described in this resolution, together with any changes, insertions, omissions therein, as may be approved by the officers who execute the financing documents. Such approval shall be conclusively evidenced by such execution and delivery of the financing documents. The town administrator of the leasee and any other officer of the leasee with the power to do so, and each of them hereby is authorized to affix the official seal of the leasee to the financing documents and attest the same. Be it further resolved that the proper officers of the leasee be and each of them hereby is authorized to direct, to execute, deliver any and all papers, instruments, opinions, certificates, affidavits, and other documents, and to do or cause to be done any and all other acts and things necessary or proper to carry out the resolution and the financing of the documents. Be it further resolved that pursuant to Section 265B of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, paren the code, close paren, the leasee hereby specifically designates the agreement as the, quote, qualified tax exempt obligation, end quote, for the purposes of Sections 265B3 of the code. Be it further resolved that nothing contained in this resolution and agreement, nor any other instrument shall be construed with the respect of the leasee as incurring any pecuniary liability or charge upon the general credit of the leasee or against the taxing power. Nor shall the breach of any agreement contained in this resolution, the agreement, or any other instrument or any other document executed in connection therewith imposed by pecuniary liability upon the leasee, any charge upon the general credit or against the taxing power, exempt to the extent that the rental payments payable under the agreement are special limited obligations of the leasee as provided in the agreement. Last paragraph. Be it further resolved that if any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this resolution shall for any reason be held to be invalid, unenforceable, the invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, clause, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of this resolution. This resolution has been adopted by a two-thirds majority of the entire council as required by the charter and shall take effect immediately upon a passage, adopted July 11th, 2023.
Mr. Chairman,
Job.
since I stepped out temporarily, can you have him repeat
Yeah, I was gonna say, he missed a word in the second paragraph. So.
Oh, no, you did a great
I'll
job.
be pleased to go
I'll
back.
second his.
I will be happy to read this again to Brian
No.
after the meeting.
Oh, after.
All right, motion by Counsel McEachran, second by Counsel Katsoukaris. On the
Good
motion,
job.
Counsel Cherichello.
Yes.
Counsel Spencer.
Yes.
Counsel Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counsel Flood.
Yes.
Counsel Gracie.
Yes.
Counsel McEachran.
I have to. I just read 3 pages, so yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion 7-0.
Good job.
Aaron used to get those before you came. Right, Aaron? And actually, one was like 10 pages, one of them. Yeah. All right. Moving on. New business. 2382, Resolution 2023-053, to authorize expenses from the Compensated Absence Fund. CFO, Mark Fleischer.
Okay, this is another one that we typically have to do annually. The town council created a compensated absence capital reserve fund in June of 1997. The purpose of the fund is to pay for the town's obligation to its employees to receive compensation for vested accumulated leave. The town incurred expenses during FY '23, which now requires the town council as agents to expend to authorize those expenditures be funded by the compensated absences capital reserve fund. The FY '23 other municipal obligation budget included $489,942 for earned time payouts. The amount expended for employees separating from the town and requesting earned time pay per contract was $1,095,257. Therefore, $605,315 is needed to cover these payments. The transferred funds will offset other OMO or other municipal obligation account 190004 earned time payouts and associated roll-ups. The total amount expended for earned time payouts due to employee separations and earned time pay per contract during FY '23 was $605,315 over the budgeted amount. It is these funds that are being recommended be paid from the Compensated Absence Capital Reserve Fund.
Okay, questions?
So it looks like we still have a balance of a little over 2.2 million in the fund?
I believe that's what it is,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, seeing no other questions, I'm going to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-053. And I promise everybody in the audience, this is significantly quicker than the other one. Resolution 2023-053, to fund expenses for compensated absences, capital reserve fund. Whereas the town council created a compensated absence capital reserve fund in 1997, and whereas the purpose of the fund is to pay the town's obligation to its employees for vested accumulated leave upon separation and for any earned time payouts in excess of budget, whereas several long-tenured employees retired from the town services in FY '23, whereas the transfer of funds from compensated absences will stabilize the impact of end-of-service payments from the town's general fund. Now therefore be it resolved in council that the town council, as agents to expend, hereby authorize the withdrawal of $605,315 from the compensated absence capital reserve fund to fund the accumulated leave obligations. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage, adopted July 11th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, motion by Counsel McEachran, second by Counsel Katsoukaris. On the motion, Counsel Cherichello.
Yes.
Counsel Spencer.
Yes.
Counsel Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counsel Flood.
Yes.
Counsel Gracie.
Yes.
Counsel McEachran.
I remember adopting this in 1997, yes.
Okay, and the chair votes yes, 7-0.
Wow.
This goes back to us in 97.
Yeah. Wow.
23-83, Resolution 2023-054, to authorize expenses from the Fire Facilities Capital Reserve Fund. Mark again.
Okay. Per Resolution 2022-038, the Town Council authorized the construction of a replacement central fire station, and per Resolution 2022-036, a bond offering was authorized to fund the project. Issuance of long-term debt for the fire station project occurred in July of 2022. An interest-only payment on this debt issuance in the amount of $519,187.77 was made in January 2023 from other municipal obligations. This payment was not included in the FY23 budget, as the sale of the bond, which finalized the interest rate, occurred after the FY23 budget was adopted. We did, however, anticipate this payment, which is budgeted within the project cash flow. We are utilizing the fire facilities and equipment capital reserve as a mechanism to receive funds and make payments for the project. A transfer from the fire facilities and equipment capital reserve fund to OMO interest expense, object code 981000, in the amount of $519,187.77 will properly fund the interest payment related to this long-term debt with no supplemental appropriation required and no effect on the tax rate.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, again, this is pretty straightforward fiscal bookkeeping. I move the adoption of Resolution 2023-54. Again, another short one, folks. Resolution 2023-054, authorize the expense for the Fire Facilities Capital Reserve Fund, whereas the Town Council previously established a capital reserve fund for the fire facilities, whereas the Town Council under Resolution 2022-038 authorized construction of replacement of the Central Fire Station to the location Southwest Derry, and whereas the Capital Reserve Fund is used as a vehicle to receive and expend funds for the station's construction and payment of debt services, and whereas the town incurred interest expenses in FY23 associated with the issuance of the long-term debt to fund the project, now therefore be resolved in council that the Town Council as agents to expend hereby approve the transfer of $519,187.77 from the Fire Facilities Capital Reserve Fund to pay the FY23 debt service on the Central Fire Bond. Resolution shall take effect immediately upon a passage, adopted July 11th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, motion by Counselor McEachern, second by Counselor Corus. Counselor Chercello?
Yes.
Counselor Spencer?
Yes.
Counselor Katz-Corus?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Granessi?
Yes.
Counselor McEachern?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion 7-0. Moving on to 2384, Resolution 2023-055, to transfer unexpended appropriations to the CBA Implementation Trust. Go away, Mr. Flood.
Okay.
You're
So-
like the man tonight.
Yeah, hot seat.
The Legion Healthcare premiums for the FY 2024 budget were not available when preparing that budget. Per contract, healthcare premiums for the Teamsters bargaining unit cannot increase more than 8% in any given year. Since the actual rates were unknown at that time, the maximum 8% increase was used to formulate the budget. The actual rates for FY 2024 from Allegiant were made available in early May, which was too late to change the budget. The actual rates increased only 4% rather than the estimated 8%. The differences in the rates resulted in unexpended appropriations for FY 2024 in certain activity centers. Using the actual 4% rate yield a total of $28,093 in unexpended appropriations allocated as follows. Police, $1,063. Department of Public Works, $20,774. Water Fund, $2,527. Wastewater Fund 3729. It is these funds that are being recommended to be transferred to the CBA Implementation Trust.
Questions?
This is a good one.
This is a good one, we're getting money.
We get money back, nice
Money
job.
not spent.
Yeah.
Money not spent, we get an estimate, and we come in below, so nice job. Obviously, seeing no questions on getting money back, I would like to read Resolution 2023-055. Transfer of unexpended appropriations to the CBA Implementation Trust, where Section 97 of the Town Charter authorizes the Town Administrator, with the approval of the majority of the council, to transfer any unencumbered appropriation balance, and whereas the town partners with Agilent Healthcare to provide health insurance to cover its employees, and whereas FY24 budgeted healthcare premiums from Agilent exceeded the amount necessary to provide coverage, and whereas the town, pursuant to Resolution 2017-038, created the CBA Implementation Expandable Trust Fund to assist with funding current or future collective bargaining agreements. Now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is hereby authorized to transfer $28,093 from the following departments to the CBA Implementation Expandable Trust Fund. Public Works, $20,774. Police, 1,063, Water Fund, 2,527, wastewater, 3,729. Resolution shall take effect immediately upon a passage, adopted July 11th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Counsel McGuckin, second by Counsel Katsoukaris. Counsel Cherichello.
Yes.
Counsel Spencer.
Yes.
Counsel Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counsel Flood.
Yes.
Counsel Granessi.
Yes.
Counsel McGuckin.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. 23-85.
He doesn't want to stay for the last one?
He quits. Resolution 2023-056 to amend a conservation easement over lot 11087. Town Administrator.
Thank you. The town council adopted various resolutions since January to partner with the Conservation Commission to acquire land for conservation purposes and a potential location for a water tower over at 82 English Range Road. Looking at the layout of the land, it was determined that the best access to that potential tower location is from an adjoining property over which the town owns a conservation easement. So in speaking with Town Council Brenda Keith, she advised that the council should approve a resolution to an amendment to that conservation easement to include a utility easement as well. This will be the first step. Once the council votes on this, and if it's successful, then town council will present it to the state authorities who's also involved with funding the project. Town council has had conversations with the property owner over which we have the conservation easement, and they are agreeable to this action.
Counsel Cherichello.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I don't know if it's gonna really be a problem or not, but, so on the agenda, we're advertising that we're doing a conservation easement over lot 11087, yet on the motion, it's lot 11097.
Yeah, the correct number is 11097. It was a typographical error, and ironically, the 82 English Range Road is 11087,
Okay.
and the property you want to put the utility easement on is actually 1111097. So that created some confusion.
Yeah,
But the resolution properly states is the conservation easement should be over lot 1111097.
but because we're advertising and we've got it on the agenda, a different lot completely, it's not gonna be a problem?
I don't think so. It's a scrivener's error, so.
Okay.
Do you have something to say?
No,
You have a question?
no, as long as he's okay and the people involved are okay. Because Brian is technically correct. But if everybody's in agreement, then there shouldn't be an issue.
Dave, you said that's fine?
Yes.
All right.
I don't see any other questions.
Take it away.
I could read the next resolution. Resolution 2023-056 to amend a conservation easement on lot 11097. Whereas section 5.1 of the town charter designates the council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and whereas the town council under resolution 2023-049 authorized the purchase of 42.7 acres at 82 English Range Road for the conservation purposes, and whereas the location of the parcel has been identified by the Water Division as preferable for a potential future location of a water tank, and whereas the town council under resolution 2023-012 has appropriated $100,000 to secure the potential water tank site, and whereas access to the water tank location is preferable over lot 11097, and whereas the town previously secured a conservation easement deed over lot 11097, duly recorded at the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds Book 3817, page 0822. Now therefore be it resolved in council that the town council hereby authorizes an amendment to the town's easement over the portion of lot 11097 for the purposes of locating a utility easement within the current easement. The utility easement is for access to the ball lot 11087, where the water tower may be installed. Resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage. Should be adopted July 11th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Counsel McGuckin, second by Counsel Katsoukaris. Counsel Cherichello.
Yes.
Counsel Spencer.
Yes.
Counsel Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counsel Flood.
Yes.
Counsel Granessi.
Yes.
Counsel McGuckin.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Passes 7-0.
Chairman, just for clarification, the clerk has confirmed that on the posted agenda, it was posted as 11-097,
Oh, great.
So it's just a typo.
just the annotated agenda.
On ours, okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Madam Town Clerk. Council comments? Mr. Ganesi?
Just one quick thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so fellow councils know, on the 19th is the next planning board meeting, and they're going to be, there's a public hearing regarding 109 Rockingham Road, which is the Watts Auto Salvage. And that's in the West Runningbrook District, and they're looking to put a 23,300 square foot commercial development, 63 apartments and 9 townhomes. So it'll be a public hearing with that. I just want to let everybody know what's going on down there.
Okay.
So, planning board's been gonna be busy, I guess. And, the planning, assistant planning director, Liz Riverdeau, I had her send me the, change of use for this year. There's been a lot of business change of use, so if someone would like a copy of that, I can forward it to you also. All the business in town. So, okay.
Some of
Council
that,
Flood?
wasn't some of that, what? Was-
Yeah.
Wasn't some of that property condemned because of,
No,
can't
no.
talk about it?
No,
Okay, forget it.
I'm sure that'll come up at
I
the
know.
public hearing.
Won't zip it.
Council Flood?
All right, I'm going to maximize my
Zip it.
public speaking in one night. Our community event is July 22nd at the Boys and Girls Club. We'll be there from noon till probably 8 or 9 at night. There'll be 16 music acts. There'll be
Yeah.
a kids' corner, thanks to the Taylor Library. There'll be a fitness center, and there'll be all sorts of yard games and stuff. There's something for everyone, from little kids all the way to Jason's elderly grandparents, and anyone in between. So July 22nd, Boys and Girls Club. It's our annual Pizza Stock number 7. It's our 12th event, and you're all invited. So please come out and support the kids and have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just want to reiterate earlier, thank you for bringing that proclamation to us, and thank you for all that you and Danielle do for the community and
Thank you for your
Flood
support.
Memorial.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. It's an important topic, and can't stress it enough. So
Yeah.
keep
No-
going.
No
Keep
one
doing
wants
it.
to talk about it, but
Yeah.
it's what makes it important.
Yeah,
We have
just,
to talk about it.
I think it's important to bring light to it, so thank you.
Looking forward to
Agreed.
looking forward to a good day.
Yeah, it'll be a cool day.
Anyone else?
Seeing no other questions, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
good.
Have a good